A 22-year-old mother of four, Savannah Spurlock, went missing after going out to a bar called The Other Bar in Kentucky on January 3rd, 2019. In fact, she had newborn twins. They were only 1 month old, and her other two sons were 4 and 2. We'll find out now why she went out, what she was up to, and what happened to her. But her case has a lot of loose ends that I find quite interesting. Even though justice has been served, in some ways it kind of feels like it hasn't. Let me know what you think after hearing this case. Let's get started. Thank you so much for joining me over here. If this is your first time here, then welcome to the Grizzly True Crime community. I hope that you'll consider staying, which means just clicking a couple of buttons down there. Other than that, if you are a Grizzly already, welcome back. It's always so nice to see you. Now, this case I stumbled on because there's been some new developments in the case. And what's happened is that some new details relating to this crime have been released, but still not all. Meaning we do not know exactly how the victim died. And there's still, as I say, a lot of loose ends in this case, which I found quite interesting. So let's have a look at the timeline, and then please stay till the end so that we can do some map time together as well. I'm sure you want to see where and what. So on January the 3rd, 2019, 22-year-old Savannah Spurlock made plans to go out with two friends, and she was going to Lexington, Kentucky, to a bar called The Other Bar. Now, if someone's feeling a little judgy, you might be like, why is a mother of twins, newborn twins, going out, and she's also got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old? What is she doing? She's trying to blow off some steam, but it wasn't her own idea. Her mother, Ellen, said, why don't you go out? I'll look after the kids, take my car, go have fun, meet up with your friends, have a drink. It's okay. And so Savannah did just that. Okay, she lived with her mother, Ellen Spurlock, in Lexington, Kentucky. And she met up with her friends at the other bar. But the one friend decided that, you know what, she's tired, she's going to leave early. Totally understandable. But then the other friend got into some sort of argument with Savannah and left her at the bar alone. Now, to me, that's already a red flag. I was a little bit of a night owl. I'm sure we all were, right? In my 20s. And so I never liked that feeling if your friends leave you at a bar alone. Even though you have your own car, you're there on your own terms, whatever, it's not a good thing to just, I would even say, to just leave a woman alone at a bar. Especially not after a few drinks. You need to make sure that your friends get home safely, and that you don't just leave them lurking around for strangers to pick them up. And that's exactly what happened in this case. 3 strangers approached Savannah, made some conversation, and guess what? Savannah ended up going home with them. Yes, she FaceTimed her mother on the way to David Sparks' house, which we'll learn more about as this case unfolds, and 2 other men. So she FaceTimed her mother and said, hey, I'm on my way to a friend's house. They were apparently going to continue the party back at his house, which I completely understand because bar drinks are damn expensive. So why not continue at a house party if you can? You know how it goes. Don't pretend you don't. So Ellen said, okay, great, no problem. See you soon. She said, don't worry, I'll be back later this morning. So she didn't say like I'm sleeping over at someone's house. She was just like, I'll be back later. I promise. Thank you so much. Having a great time. See you soon. So Ellen went back to sleep. And when she woke up the next morning, she's like, oh my word, Savannah's not back yet. And she knew Savannah would never just like turn off her phone or not contact her or just kind of abandon or neglect her boys like that. So she tried to get hold of her. And of course, lo and behold, her phone was off. Savannah was never to be seen again. And it took 6 months for her body to be found. So, what did police do? Of course, they started with Savannah's friends. And they started questioning them and like, what did she say? What were you doing? What's happening? And then they showed them some live surveillance footage, which was from the bar in Lexington. That is the last known footage seen of Savannah alive. She was leaving the bar with 3 men. The friends confirmed they had no idea who those men were, and they didn't think that Savannah knew these men beforehand. It was like brand new friends. Ellen, Savannah's mother, told the police that when her daughter FaceTimed her, she seemed fine and didn't seem worried at all. There was no anxiety. She felt completely safe. She was having a great time. And her mom said she remembered that there were one or two people in the back of the car because she heard two men basically hollering and talking over each other, at least two men. And police later found that one man was driving the car, one man was in the back of the car, and the third man was very likely, they say, driving another car behind them. When police asked Ellen, Savannah's mother, if she seemed upset at all, they said, no, not at all. Ellen said she didn't even seem, there was nothing out of the ordinary. There was literally nothing to report. She didn't feel any concern for her. She was just like, she's having a great time. So police began looking for these men that were seen on the surveillance footage with Savannah, and they identified them and the car that Savannah was in. They established then a timeline. After Savannah left the bar with those three men, they traveled to a home owned by one of the men that Savannah left the bar with. His name was David Sparks, and he lived at 118 Price Court in Lancaster, Kentucky. The three men and Savannah went to David Sparks' home, and there they continued to party a little bit. And from the interrogation footage that I've seen, the two friends that were questioned said they didn't really feel like, because they left, they didn't feel like they were leaving Savannah in danger. They just felt like David was just a little bit creepy. You know, he was making sexual advances, and Savannah was apparently sort of going in and out of consciousness, which sounds like she had quite a bit to drink, I'm just assuming. And so they thought, oh well, she'll like sleep it off, she'll be fine. Unfortunately, that was not the case. David Sparks was 23 years old at the time. And yes, we'll learn later that he was a total mommy's boy. So spoiler alert, yes, he was. The friends went from Lexington to Garrard County, which was around 40 miles away. 40 miles is quite a long drive to go to a house party, don't you think? You know, and you could already sort of see there, again, I'm assuming, I don't know how much Savannah drank that night, but she's like, oh, I'll be home later this morning. But like 40 miles away, whew, it was quite a drive to get there to this friend's house. And then for those other two friends to leave her there as well. It's like, man, don't leave your friends with strangers, even though these were strangers. You know what I mean? It's almost like it happened twice. Like her one friend went to bed early. The other friend left her alone at a bar. Then she meets these three new people. And then the two guys leave her with a creeper, basically. You know what I mean? It's just like, ah, man. So, no, we are all as adults responsible for our own lives. I would just say, if you care about yourself and your friends, try not to leave them alone at a bar. It's like a general rule. So police had to establish what happened when they reached Garrard County. And, of course, they had to first find out whether Savannah was still there or what time she left or what happened. Now, remember, Ellen, she knows her daughter. And she was like, oh, hell no, this is totally abnormal. And she reported her missing immediately. That is why police were already like, wait, what? And they looked at surveillance footage. They were building a timeline and like, is Savannah still there? That's why they're like, is she still there? Or where did she go? Or what happened? And here's what David said. Right off the bat, he admitted that the three of them left the bar with Savannah that night. He told police that the four of them went back to Garrard County, and at some point the two other men left. He told police that he slept on the couch so that Savannah could sleep in his bed. I don't think that's how it went, and we don't know. That's the problem. No one knows how it actually went. But based on what I know about dudes like this, no. Anyway, I'm not going to go into those details right now. He recalled Savannah waking up at some stage. He didn't know what time it was, and she asked for the address. Again, I'm going to say she's probably like, oh my word, where am I, type of thing. He gave it to her and then went back to sleep. When he woke later that morning, at noon, she was gone. Okay. He thought she may have contacted someone to give them the address so she could get a ride home. Oh, the classic old, someone else picked her up. I have no idea. All I know is I gave her a beautiful bed to sleep in. I answered all the questions she had for me, and then someone must have picked her up. No, dude, no. Police got a search warrant to search his parents' farm in Garrard County, which was on Fall Lick Road, and that was only 1.7 miles away. Okay. And guess what? That was in February, so it was a few weeks later. They got a search warrant to search the farm, and they found nothing, which is actually quite strange if you think about it. You'll think, let me unfold some more details, right? 6 months later, this is now July 2019, David's father contacted the police to let them know that there was a pretty bad smell coming from his property, somewhere on the land. Okay, so police went to the farm and they found a shallow grave on the land. It was only 19 inches deep. Okay, Savannah's body was inside. She had been wrapped in trash bags and a rug that was once in David's bedroom. And you know the nerve that this guy had? David Sparks phoned his sister on January 5th to say, you know that rug that was in my bedroom? I need another one. Yeah, I need a replacement. So she didn't ask too many questions and she's like, I got it from Walmart. So he went to Walmart and bought himself a replacement rug to cover his tracks, to make it look like everything was freaking normal. Her feet were also bound with tape. Now, it's not known why Savannah's body wasn't found when the land was searched after Savannah was first reported missing, and there were no indications that her body had been moved. You see why I say this case is a little strange? So what did he do in the meantime with her body? And there's no indications that her body had been moved? Well, there must be, because from what we know, she was murdered at his home, and her body ended up at his parents' home on the land, on their farm. Anyway, the prosecution's case rested on the fact that Savannah was last seen with David. It's always like that. They always first look at who was the last person this person was seen with. Giant red flag, always. I mean, it's obvious, but you know what I mean. Okay, and that she went back to the property owned by his family, and her body was found on their land. Interesting. You see, this is the part that gets blurry for me, because he had a home, and that's where he said they were going, to 118 Price Court Road in Kentucky. But they say here the prosecution's case rested on the fact that Savannah was last seen with David, that she went back to property owned by his family, and her body was found on their land. So are they now saying that she went to the farm with him? You know what I mean? It's quite interesting. Anyway, when his bedroom was searched a few days after Savannah was reported missing, there was a rug in his bedroom, but it was determined that this was a replacement rug. And there was also further evidence to implicate him, because Savannah's blood was found on the closet door in his bedroom. See, it's all kind of weird. There was blood spatter from Savannah in his bedroom. But then they say it appears like her body wasn't ever moved, and her body was found in a shallow grave on his parents' farm. Very interesting. Now, despite all this evidence, no one knows exactly how Savannah died, or exactly what happened to her in the early hours of January the 4th. The prosecution team, or the prosecutors, did not believe they'd be able to prove any aggravating circumstances, and as such, they entered into negotiations, making a sort of a plea deal with David. So he pleaded guilty to murder, tampering with physical evidence, and abuse of a corpse in connection with her death. This is how they describe in court what happened to Savannah, even though we don't know how it happened. During the early morning hours of January the 4th, 2019, at 118 Price Court in Garrett County, Kentucky, David Sparks intentionally and acting alone caused the death of Savannah Spurlock. After doing so, he bound her legs and wrapped her body in plastic bags. And here they say he later transported her body to Fall Lick Road, and buried her in the yard behind that residence. See? So even though they're like, no, there was no evidence of him transporting a body, in court they said he transported her body. So just piecing the evidence together ourselves, her blood evidence was found in his bedroom, which was 1.7 miles away at 118 Price Court Road. Okay. And then her body was wrapped in plastic, her feet were bound, and she was transported to Fall Lick Road, to his parents' farm. It's a little bit like Chazzy, isn't it? Except this guy didn't go to any effort to dismember or do anything funny like that. Of course, by pleading guilty, David avoided a possible life sentence. So he was sentenced to 50 years in prison for the murder and 5 years for abuse of a corpse, and those are to run concurrently, and he will be eligible for parole in 20 years. They didn't have any proof beyond a reasonable doubt of any aggravating circumstances. So because they didn't have any aggravators, they couldn't seek the 3 highest penalties, which are death, life without the possibility of parole, or life without the possibility of parole until the defendant serves at least 25 years. Now, the 2 other men that won the surveillance footage, okay, they were not charged with anything related to Savannah's death. They were questioned at length. They were initially suspects in this case, but they have since been cleared. Okay, while we are not at the end of this episode by any means, let us now do some map time, shall we? Okay, so if we look at the map here, 118 Price Court Road was where David Sparks lived, and Fall Lick Road is where his parents allegedly lived. So if we look at this, you can see, yeah, there's a lot of land. I don't know exactly where this was, but we will have a look at some of the footage in a moment. But look how close it was, 1.7 miles. Like, damn, baby boy lived very close to his mom, huh? Wow. And 118 Price Court Road, if we go there. Okay, so if we look, if this house is 116, these houses all look very similar. This one must in fact be 118 because this one is 120 and that one's 122. So all even numbers on this side. This was the home where Savannah went to. This is David Sparks' home. And she went here with him and his 2 friends. So now you can see it. You can see what it looks like. This image was captured in May 2013. So if you're asking yourself, why is there a little girl's bike outside here or kids, you know, toys and things, that is why. We don't know exactly when he lived here from, but this happened in 2019. Okay, let's have a look at some of these new details.
3 years ago, the mysterious disappearance of a Madison County mother gripped the nation. The search for Savannah Spurlock ended 6 months later when police found her body on a Garrett County farm. LEX 18's Lee Searcy obtaining the investigative file in her case, which reveals a lot more about the man convicted of her murder.
Until now, we didn't know that much about David Sparks, but this case file paints a dark and disturbing picture of him. While dozens of people were out searching for Savannah Spurlock, Sparks was going about his daily life and at times even poking fun at all the coverage of the story. This security footage is one of the last haunting images.
I'm just going to pause it there so that you can actually see it. Okay, so now you can actually see the surveillance footage of her outside of the bar. She looks like she's freezing. I mean, January was pretty cold. She wasn't dressed all that warmly, huh? Take a jacket. When you go out, always take a jacket and never leave your friends alone, okay, in a bar.
Images of the young mother of 4. She was seen leaving a Lexington bar with 3 men she met.
This in front is David Sparks. This right here.
David Sparks, the man walking in front, was the last one to see her alive. For the first time, we were able to watch police interviews with the 2 men who were with them that night. They all ended up at Sparks' Garrett County home. The 2 men with them were only questioned, never accused of being involved. They said Spurlock was alive when they left the house.
And he hurt that girl?
Yeah.
What'd he tell you?
Yeah, I feel like he eventually would.
Have you asked him that yet?
Yeah. I asked him, he been adamant that he don't know nothing. That's why I asked him, like bro, you need to be 100% on point because this is with us all. Like I told him at the end of the day, bro, like we left at your house, bro. You know what I'm saying? Me and left. So whatever happened after that, you need to go ahead and man the up and say what need to be said.
She was a daughter, a big sister, a mother of 4 who had given birth to twin boys only a month before she vanished after a night out. This security footage from January 4th, 2019, one of the last haunting images of the 22-year-old as she left a Lexington bar with 3 men to party at a home in Garrett County. David Sparks, the man walking in front, was the last person to see her alive.
Look around while you're walking.
6 months later, after countless searches, a tip from his father about a foul odor led investigators to find her body bound and buried in a clandestine grave on the family's Garrett County farm. As police unearthed her body, Sparks...
Wait, let's have a look at this guy. Here he is. We're looking. David Sparks. On his parents' property. Oh my word.
was turning himself in, later charged with Spurlock's murder. For the first time,
Because we're looking for a body.
Yeah.
No, we're looking for a body.
LEX 18 sees the police interviews with witnesses as detectives pressed for answers.
Is she alive when you leave the house?
Yeah, most definitely, yeah.
Through an open records request to Kentucky State Police, we obtained the investigative file on the case. It contains...
Looks like a huge file. I don't know if that's just an... I mean, even the... I don't know if that's just like an image they're using, but even the file that the lady was holding, I'm like, damn, that's a huge file.
Information on Spurlock's last hours.
We was all in there.
The 2 men with Sparks that night were only questioned, never accused or charged with a crime. Both told police all 4 had been drinking and came to Sparks' Lancaster home to party more. Both said they eventually left, leaving Spurlock alone with Sparks.
And then like, you sure we should let that girl there?
You see? Are you sure we should have left that girl there? And this is after drinking that they're asking themselves this. So, the only thing... remember, I'm not trying to nitpick for the sake of, yeah, look at what they did wrong. No. It's what can we learn from this? That's always what I'm trying to do. What can we learn from this? 1, do not leave, especially your female friends, alone in the bar. 2, even if you're a male, if you're a stranger and you see someone, you're like, should we leave that one? He said, should we have left that girl there? If you're asking, rather be safe. Rather make sure. Now, I don't know what they could have done to make sure that she actually gets home safely. But if you're asking yourself, are you sure we should have left that girl there? It means you have some doubt.
I was like, yeah, why? Like, I don't know. He's like, they really want.
Both said Sparks was...
Oh, look at this vile creature. Oh, my word. He's really quite freaky looking, huh? Oh, my word. He's giving me the creeps right from over here.
Frustrated because as the night went on, Spurlock was less alert. They described him as trying to be sexual with her as she was in and out of consciousness, but told detectives neither expected Sparks would hurt her.
Do you think David would have had any reason to do anything to Savannah?
I don't think so.
But days after Spurlock went missing, one of the men was less sure.
Asked him, do you know, like, seriously, do you know what's going on? Where she at, whatever. He's adamant, no, I don't know where she's at.
Do you believe him?
70-30.
One of
I like how he gives a stat. Do you believe him? 70-30. It's not like, kind of. It's like 70-30. That's some very accurate statistics there. 70-30. Okay.
the questions that has remained unanswered is how Savannah Spurlock died. The medical examiner's final report shows why her cause of death could not be determined, stating the amount of time her body was buried destroyed any evidence of lethal trauma.
Just why? Why, how, you know.
The unknowns weigh heavy on Spurlock's best friend and godmother to her 4 children. She looked over the files and interviews privately with us. So many what-ifs.
It would have definitely been a different outcome. I feel like they were very cooperative, and I feel like they would have taken up for Savannah. I don't blame them because, you know, there's one person responsible for this, and we know who that is.
In one of the searches of Sparks' home days after Spurlock disappeared, police found blood spatter on the walls and doorways believed connected to
On the walls and doorways.
Spurlock. Something else they found? A letter of...
Okay, this is the letter we've all been waiting for, and I'm going to read it to you. This is what he wrote, okay? He left this in his bedside table. He wrote, and this was before, I don't know if it was weeks or months before, but before he'd ever come across Savannah. He said,
I simply don't care at all. I feel no true love for anything, now that I know what I really am. I see a greater need to hide my true self, but I just want to be free. I stay in constant state of aggression. Nothing seems to help anymore. I have a abyss for a soul that sucks every attempt to make myself whole. I want my family to understand, maybe just to excuse my actions over the years. But how do you look your mother in the eyes and tell her that you are a born psychopath? That she gave birth to a monster, someone who wouldn't care a bit to squeeze the last breath out of another human, or plunge a knife into their chest and smile about it. My mother, the only person in the world that I never want to disappoint. See, baby boy, yet I see it on her face every day. What do I do?
disclaimer, I'm not saying, I know none of us want to disappoint our mothers. You know what I mean? Okay, we know I got trauma with my mother, so I was a disappointment from birth to her. Even though I'm an overachiever of note, whether I was a swimmer, a pilot, an A student, no matter what I've done, even now, this would be disappointing to her, what I'm doing on YouTube. So, okay, some of us, we don't even try anymore, you know what I mean? But I know that when he says my mother, the only person in the world that I never want to disappoint, I know that pretty much all of us can resonate with that. You know what I mean? However, the reason I'm saying baby boy is because it's like, oh my word, what a dramatic note. Are you trying to be Dexter Morgan? Like, you watch too much Dexter over here. We all like Dexter. I liked it. I watched the new season and everything. But like, dude, it's just like, I am a born psychopath. I know what I am now. This is my design. You think you're Hannibal Lecter? And you see what he said here was to squeeze the last bit of breath out of another human being or plunge a knife into their chest and smile about it. So I'm thinking we sort of narrowing down how he murdered Savannah. As sad as it is, he wrote it there. My word. So let me know what you think about this note. Let's see what they say about the note.
A particular concern in Sparks' bedside table, believed to be written by him, that conveyed disturbing thoughts. It reads in part, I simply don't care at all. I feel no love for anything. I want my family to understand, maybe just to excuse my actions over the years. But how do you look your mother in the eyes and tell her you are a born psychopath? That
I like the way this lady's reading it. You are a born psychopath. Also, he said, I feel no true love for anything. So I don't know if he's watching, like, what? Are you watching fairy tales or what's going on here? Adulting 101. True love. I don't know. Ooh, I can say so much about this little note he put in his bedside table. It's almost like a bit premeditated, don't you think?
due to depression and anger issues. Also,
Hold on.
Sparks wrote it in the past due to depression and anger issues. Also in the file, these hand-sketched drawings of women. A jail guard sent them to police after finding them in Sparks' jail cell.
Dude. Okay. Likes them curvy. Ponytail. I don't know what's going on. It's just like very adolescent type drawings, don't you think? This guy was 23 years old.
One was shown nude, another bound, hands tied behind the back.
Tiny hands too. Like he doesn't know how to draw in proportion at all.
Throughout the investigation, several people described Sparks as quiet.
Is David weird?
Oh, yeah, he's a weirdo.
Is David weird? Oh, yeah, he's a weirdo.
Everybody know that. I mean, he's got unorthodox, like thinking. I mean, certain things he do is just like different than others. He's paranoid.
When interviewed, neither of Sparks' parents believed he could have anything.
He looks so normal here when he's walking like this. It doesn't look like the picture that they show us, even though it is him. Here he's kind of tanned. He's looking, in all three pictures, actually. The one from the surveillance footage, this, and then the picture that they show us of him. He looks so different, right? He's like a freaking shapeshifter, this guy.
Thing to do with Spurlock's disappearance. His mother told police David didn't have
His mama be throwing shade. David didn't have much luck with the girls because he wasn't aggressive or flirtatious, and he was meek and mild. Listen, lady, your son should never be aggressive. He didn't have much luck with girls because he wasn't aggressive or flirtatious. Let's not teach our sons to be aggressive, shall we? He didn't have luck with the girls because he wasn't aggressive. No, I think he had his own form of luck because he was aggressive. A born psychopath. My word. Looks like it runs in the family. Sorry to throw shade at the mom, but I'm like, seriously, Nanny? He didn't have much luck with the girls because he wasn't aggressive.
much luck with girls, calling him meek and mild. In the days and months before Spurlock was found, Sparks went on with his life. In these Snapchat messages from the file, he talked about getting a promotion at work just 2 weeks before his arrest.
Gotta read this out loud. Yeah, I heard that. I just got night shift supervisor at work. I start next week. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty stoked. Lol.
Arrest. And another, he said,
People that think I've actually done something to Savannah give me too much credit. People don't just get away with stuff like that with today's technology. This is him boasting like, oh my word, I actually got away with it. Oh, what an idiot.
people that think I've actually done something to Savannah give me too much credit. People don't just get away with stuff like that with today's technology. He also quipped about all.
I'd be there for you. The news has the story of the century. 2 black men and a white psychopath. So it's not 2 black men and a white man. No, 2 black men and a white psychopath behind the disappearance of a sweet, young, innocent mother of 4. And they're sticking to it. To me, you know, I love to analyze communication. Okay, so when he says, I'd be there for you, the news has the story of the century. This is no disrespect to the victim of this crime, but no, dude. It's one of many crimes. So let's not get ahead of ourselves because he's got a huge ego. Okay, so we're trying to just bring that down to a realistic level. Then he says 2 black men and a white psychopath. What, are you the Red Dragon? I am the Red Dragon. No, dude. Behind the disappearance, no, you behind the murder, okay, of a sweet, young, innocent mother of 4. You see, to me, this is very telling because to me, it feels like he's being a little sarcastic, making as if all of this is fiction, meaning if he describes her as a sweet, young, innocent mother of 4, that's not what he thought of her. You see? Do you see what I'm getting at? Anyway.
All the media coverage saying the news has the story of the century. 2 black men and a white psychopath behind the disappearance of a sweet, young, innocent mother of 4. Today, Sparks is currently serving 50 years after pleading guilty to murder, tampering with evidence, and abuse of a corpse.
The whole situation, the whole story is still doesn't add up. The whole story is still a mystery. And I don't think unless David Sparks ever came.
I'm not throwing shade at the friend. I'm just asking the question that you all have in your minds. I wonder if this is the friend that argued with her, or is this the friend that went home early, or was this friend not there at all that night?
Until he comes forward at one point in his life and tells us the story, we will never know.
And while Sparks serves his sentence, Spurlock's friends and loved ones are moving on, giving lots of love and attention to her 4 beautiful boys and making sure the memory of their mother stays alive.
Okay, now I'm just going to show you this footage that I found on Twitter. Follow me there, at Grizzly Gisela, of a container leaving the farm after they'd found Savannah's body. Do you see it? There we go. You can see them carrying a large coffin-like box here. Oh man. Okay, before we wrap it up, I just want to make sure I've covered all the details. So something else that I found was that in the search of Sparks's Lancaster home, investigators noted that the house looked like it had been recently cleaned. You know, probably the usual, H2O2, like Chazzy Boy, bleach, with multiple walls looking like the bottom half had been wiped down, according to a report in the file. The report also said that what appeared to be blood spatter was found on some of the walls, including inside Sparks's bedroom closet. That is all very scary because there was blood spatter in his bedroom closet. So obviously he kept her body there for a bit. There was also blood spatter on the bottom half of the walls. That's pretty freaky because we don't know what happened to her. So it's kind of like your mind has to fill in the blanks. I just know my mind's going to be working overtime just to try to solve this riddle. Police also obtained those Snapchat messages that Sparks had sent to a friend in the weeks following Savannah Spurlock's disappearance, in which he discussed the stress of being implicated in the case. In one of the message exchanges, the friend asked Sparks if police had been going after the other two men as much as they had him, and he replied,
Yes, they was at first, but they got sort of cleared. I was admittedly the last person to see her, so yeah, they've been on my ass. I'm talking, my phone is tapped, my car is tapped, they followed me everywhere, talked to the girls that I used to talk to.
Dude, let's just get it straight. You don't used to talk to any girls. Your mama said it. She threw that shade. It's not even me. And he's really making like this is total FBI at this point.
My phone is tapped, my car is tapped, they followed me everywhere. Talked to the girls that I used to talk to. They tried to get my buddy from work to wear a wire around me and get me to start talking about the situation. Shit's been crazy. They profiled me as a psychopath.
No, they didn't. You profiled yourself as a psychopath. This is self-fulfilling, a self-fulfilling fantasy. An adolescent freaking, a wet dream. What is this? No, dude, no. I really hope he doesn't get out of prison after 20 years. That'll just be a terrible injustice. In the exchange, Sparks also quipped about the media coverage of the case, saying,
The news is the story of the century, remember that? So he was like, oh.
You're making jokes about the news coverage? Interesting. How would you have liked them to say it? How would you have liked them? Okay, now, one of the questions I had was, I wonder what the police were doing between when Savannah went missing and when they found her body, when David's dad tipped them off. And here they say that investigators actually conducted multiple searches, and while some turned up evidence, others were dead ends. There were aerial searches, searches of nearby burn piles, and at one point, an hours-long search at a landfill for possible discarded evidence. Oh my word, I wonder if they ever found it. It's all in that case file, we just don't have it. The public doesn't have it. The news coverage of Spurlock's disappearance and the family's pleas for information caused a frenzy of tips to be made to police, including some that were outlandish and unhelpful. I mean, that's just part of it, right? In the end, it was a tip from Sparks's own father that led to the end of a long and difficult search for Spurlock. He was digging in a strawberry patch on the family farm when he uncovered something that had a strong odor. When investigators arrived, they uncovered Spurlock's body. Because I was wondering, like, how at first. So we've all got questions, right? I hope to answer most of your questions in covering this case. But I was like, I wonder how he smelt it that all of a sudden, 6 months later, oh, you were busy planting strawberries, huh? Okay, and digging in the strawberry patch. Oh man, I think strawberries have been ruined for him for life, right? They would be for me. I'd be like, never having that again. Even though it's illogical to think like that, I'm like, ooh. Around the same time that Spurlock was found, Sparks was turning himself in. Of course he was. He thinks he's Hannibal Lecter. He's like, take me. I did it, take me. I'm a born psychopath.
But it was you who caught me.
You're probably not. You're probably just a freaking born loser. Let's not flatter yourself, okay? Let us not insult all psychopaths worldwide. My word, never thought I'd see the day where I'm like, yes, don't you dare. But this guy was so full of himself. After Sparks was arrested and before he pleaded guilty, a jail guard at the Lincoln County Detention Center sent the police drawings that were found in Sparks' cell. We saw those. Drawings depicted women, one naked and another one bound, with tiny hands. Remember that. Sparks is now being held in the Southeast State Correctional Complex. Sabrina Sparatos, Spurlock's best friend and the godmother of her children, said that she still has some questions. The whole situation, this whole story, doesn't add up. And I think we can agree with that, right? It's just like, I don't quite feel that justice has been served. It feels just like this is a fantasy of David Sparks to be like, oh my word, look what I've done. And he didn't really get caught. No one knows exactly how she died. He turned himself in. Now he's going to be a hardened criminal, possibly released in 20 years, and think he is ultra cool. I'm pretty sure he's realized by now, whoa, prison is so not cool. Like, this is so not what I thought it would be. This is nothing like me in my cell, like Hannibal Lecter, just drawing all day and making negotiations with Clarice. Yeah, no, don't drop the soap, David. Don't drop the soap.
It rubs the lotion on its skin. It does this whenever it's told.
Like, what happened? That must be absolutely devastating for Savannah's family, to not actually know what happened. To not, even though you don't want to share this type of information with her children, when they grow up and they want to know what happened to our mom, no one knows. How sad is that? Yes. Wow. Okay, so if you still have questions, leave them below and I'll do my best to answer them either in a short video or follow-up video or something, or maybe just to reply to your comments depending on what they are. But one of my questions was, wait a minute, who is the father of the children? Because the best friend is the godmother and is looking after the children now, right? So they say Shaq Smith, the father of 3 of Spurlock's children, told the news that he wished that Sparks had been sentenced to more time for killing her. He said, I feel like it's a relief for everyone who was close to Savannah that there will be no trial to sit through. But to me, justice wasn't served. An attorney, of course, said, I think justice was served, and most importantly for our office, and I think and hope for the family, was that for the longest time everyone thought this case was a big mystery, but it wasn't. I knew from the beginning he killed her, and it was important for me that he stood in court and admitted it. Well, that's true. At least it didn't stay a cold case or a complete mystery or someone just vanishing off the face of the earth. Right? In modern times, I always find that extremely strange, how people just disappear. With all the amount of surveillance footage, cameras everywhere, cell phones everywhere, people just vanish. That is still so scary to me. Yes, people vanish every day, all around the world. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thank you so much if you've stayed here till the end. If you like the way that I cover true crime, please give this video a thumbs up and do leave your questions and comments below. I still have a lot of questions. I'm sure even Savannah's family has a lot of questions. You know, I'm glad that the man admitted to doing it and that he is in prison. But in some way, I'm just like, oh no, it doesn't feel like justice was served. And it's not the police's fault necessarily. I don't know how, after 6 months, they cannot tell how Savannah was killed. I thought forensics were more advanced than that. Oh dear. And we don't want to know. Believe me, you do not want to be a fly on this wall. To know if he was trying to make sexual advances and if she was rejecting that. You don't want to be a fly on the wall to see what he actually did behind closed doors when no one was looking, something he'll probably take to the grave. However, let me know if you agree with me that I think that this guy's probably going to write a book from prison about what he did, because he wants the world to know he's a born psychopath. He must be feeling so pleased with himself now that his mommy knows, yep, look what you raised. I'm a born psychopath. And she's like, okay, like, way to prove a point, bro. Okay, way to stand up to your mom, huh? Like, no. Anyway, if I think of questions as well that I'm like, wait a minute, what? And I dig even more and I find anything, I will share it with you. For now, I've shared as much as I possibly can. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video for the next case on this true crime channel known as Grizzly True Crime. I hope I'm slowly but surely becoming one of your favorite true crime channels. I'm going to keep it rolling and I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.